Juggernaut is going to win. Here we go. Hello and welcome to round one.
Wow. Turn one gutter snipe for Brian.
Did you just say that? Say that again.
Turn one gutter snipe here in vintage Magic the Gathering.
Cube. Vintage Cube, right? That's what we're playing?
And if you're Kai Budde, you are going to have to think really seriously about force of willing this goblin.
Oh my god. I don't know.
I think he has to. Otherwise, this goblin will keep Jace and Dak from doing anything for Kai. He has to force this.
I mean, look, he's hovering to the force of will. You can already see it outlined on his hand cam. He's expecting like Monastery Mentor, something that he's going to need to force.
A real card is coming.
Here it is.
I can't wait for this card to get forced. Ryan's going to be so happy with this 2-for-1.
There's a lot of instants and sorceries in his deck.
There are.
This is great.
There are. Sometimes your Time Walk also kills Dak Fade, and it's just how it works. I think Kai actually has to force this.
Yep, he thinks so too.
Look at that. Awesome. Gutter Snipe, too good.
Wow. To be fair, I think it's Mox Sapphire and Mox Pearl that were too good in this story. But we'll let Gutter Snipe have this.
Mostly Gutter Snipe.
Mostly Gutter Snipe?
Yeah. I mean, those Moxes could have been other Moxes. They could have been Simian Spirit Guides.
No, they could not have been Simian Spirit Guides.
No?
I mean, Brian's position would be terrible. I mean, hypothetically, I see your point.
Yes, that's true. But the fact remains, he even had one excess mana to spare. He didn't even need to deploy that Lotus Petal. Saving that up for a rainy day. Maybe he'll draw Joria next turn.
Kai rolling his eyes at how bad the Gush is. That's in his hand right here. I guess on turn 3, it'll get him to the 3rd mana for Monastery Mentor.
I'm sure Kai is mumbling under his breath about why I want that card restricted, despite the fact that it's rotting in his hand.
Right.
So we're looking at a Mentor.
You put the Mentor on top, right? You can Time Walk into a Gush turn where you play it.
That sounds great.
He does have to let Brian untap, but that doesn't really matter. Yeah, I think you totally put that one on top.
And then Brian draws Gush, but he doesn't. So
unplayable.
They're competing to see who can make Gush look worse. This is all a conspiracy to keep Gush unrestricted.
Apparently, we need to restrict Gutter Snipe. That was the power card.
Well,
oh, hello.
Or Jace the Mind Sculptor happens. Wow. That's possibly the best draw Brian could have had.
I mean, he could have drawn a land instead of a Lotus Petal, but yes. Jace the Mind Sculptor is insane right here. I just mean Lotus Petal's kind of a unique card. He plays it and no one else does.
Right. Yeah,
well, that's a lot of really good cards, but he's still pinched on mana. He has no black mana, so he can't cast the Thoughtseize. Ancestral certainly has a way of finding things.
You'll have an Ancestral and a free Brainstorm next turn.
Yeah. So Kai's got to go Time Walk into Gush Mentor, right?
Well, the awkward thing there is that Jace will be able to bounce the Mentor, and Kai won't be able to replay him.
It's fair, because Gush is terrible, right? Is that right? No?
So
that's a good point.
Yeah, Kai could play the Mentor, but not replay him when he gets bounced by Jace.
So what his other option is to fight with Baby Jace? Try to get the 3rd mana?
Luna White and Gushing and seeing where that takes me. If you get a Mox, then I think you definitely throw out the Mentor.
It's risky, though, because you're right. If all he does is play Mentor, Jace just undoes everything.
Right. I think Mentor is only playable if you hit something like a Mox. If not, I think you play Little Jace. And I guess Kai's debating whether he wants to gush here. I would, because you haven't made your land drop yet, but Jace's unsummon ability sure does a lot. Oh, wow. He's not even floating blue. He's not interested in playing a blue spell.
Well, he still gets a land drop. This is a time walk turn.
Right.
It means he can't like preordain into Vryn's Prodigy. You're right.
I didn't like floating the red there. I would have floated a white and a blue so that you could play Jace and leave your mana open.
So he drew Flooded Strand, and what's the card off to the right?
I can't see.
Oh, it's a Swords to Plowshares.
So I guess he could also get on a boat, but if that doesn't work well, he won't need Brian Kelly to cast discard spells for him. He'll do that quite well himself.
Treasure Cruise is not terrible here, right?
He's already at 7 cards.
Yeah, he's likely to have to discard 2. That's fair.
If he doesn't hit a Mox off Treasure Cruise, it looks like he's going for the Mentor. I don't.
Well, I mean, look, it means Jace isn't brainstorming, right? He's going to be able to replay it in a couple of turns. Oh, Brian doesn't have the black mana for Cabal Therapy yet,
but he does have the mana for Fire.
Funny.
Wow.
Fire is great here. What can Kai do to save his Mentor as a response to Fire Ice?
Just Force.
Now, Brian does have 2 1-mana spells that Kai is hoping to get to Mental Misstep. This is a tricky turn. This is why I'm happy to see a bunch of blue decks for, at least this one trimester. I'm going to enjoy these blue mirrors.
I think this is easy. I think you bounce and then you.
I agree. You got to bounce first.
Ice is land.
You don't want to do anything that there can be permission war over while Mentor's on the table. Now, what Brian should want to do is resolve Ancestral, find black mana. He's passing the turn?
I like icing during the upkeep here.
He could. We'll see. He let Kai go through to his main phase. Kai just goes baby Jace.
What did Kai draw off the edge of there?
He drew Pyroblast.
Wow.
Huh.
Wow.
So he can go Volcanic and potentially kill Jace, but I mean, there's what can you hypothetically do and what can you actually resolve? Neither player has drawn a Gitaxian Probe this game. Nobody knows anything about their opponent's hand. Brian is sitting with an Ancestral, but he's kind of waiting. Doesn't want to run it into a misstep. Kai doesn't want to run his Pyroblast into a misstep.
Oh, I think Kai has to fire right now, especially because he has misstep backup.
I agree with you. Yeah, I think what Kai's going to conclude is Jace is just too good. You can't really afford to wait. He is going to wait for Brian's upkeep. That makes sense. So if Brian is going to tap mana to fight, he wants Brian tapping it on his turn rather than getting it on tap step. So it's Brian's upkeep, and Kai's going for this Pyroblast. I think if I'm Brian, I respond with Ancestral Recall. Try to find a misstep.
I like that a lot.
I mean, you're risking a misstep, but like the upside of finding a way to save your Jace is so high.
Yeah, no, I think that was for Kai there, and knows he's drawing a brick at this turn.
Oh, right. He has a Thoughtseize on top of his library. I think it's a Thoughtseize.
It is. I actually, if this Ancestral gets misstepped, I kind of like firing the ice.
But it looks like Brian is not interested in fighting over that or playing Ancestral.
Wow.
So,
what changes when he gets to his main phase?
He must be planning to ice on Kai's upkeep. I don't understand any other play. If he ices on the upkeep, then Kai can't play the Mentor this turn.
He let Kai through to his main phase. Is he
Is
planning to fire the Mentor?
That's an extremely bold line.
Like, he could have done that way back when he Jaced it, although, yeah, I don't know. Things might have worked out better, but I don't love the way Brian is just not using his mana. Like, he's let multiple turn cycles go by where he just hasn't actually done anything.
No,
Kai's going to leave Vryn's Prodigy, which means he's got Flusterstorm available should anything happen. I like this. Rather than just tapping out for the Mentor, he's going to go Vryn's Prodigy with 1 mana backup.
I really don't like not icing on upkeep there.
Now, do you fire Vryn's Prodigy?
I think you've got a corner where you have to, because Kai can get a time walk out of him.
Yeah, I think you have to as well.
I don't like this line, but it looks like Brian's just priced into it. Ow.
Well, Gataxian Probe. Has Kai let this resolve yet? Or is he... I think he's still thinking. He could misstep it. Yeah, he's going to misstep the probe. This is... I mean, this blue-on-blue battle, just understanding exactly what resistance the opponent has is so valuable. Also, Brian is
huge.
Brian is pretty visibly mana hosed too, right? I don't know. Kai doesn't.
He's color screwed for sure.
Right. And Kai doesn't know specifically that Brian has Cabal Therapy Thoughtseize in his hand, but he does know he has them in his list. The lists are public, right? You can !deck list in the chat. You can go check out exactly the 75 that everybody's playing with.
Well,
Kai's like, nope, no information for you, no cantrip for you.
So he has to fire now, right? No, he's...
How?
I
don't understand. He's going to let Kai draw an additional misstep. That's the plan. And Vryn's Prodigy goes active.
Wow. I feel like Kai was so far behind, and Brian's just been passing the turn a lot more than I would have. Now, I'm no vintage world champion, and I guess I never will get the chance to be one. But Brian is taking a lot of lines that I guess I don't entirely understand.
He's a very patient man. Too patient, in my opinion.
There's patient, and then they're sitting there while you're getting eaten by a wolf.
Maybe the wolf will get bored. A German wolf. Maybe the wolf will get bored. All right, Kai loots. Vryn's Prodigy goes active. Swords to Plowshares is the discard. Now he's got a Planeswalker.
He does. Looks like he can enjoy a bonus turn.
Is he going to go bonus turn? Is he going to actually go Gush? Gush is pretty good here because he really wants to play a land this turn so that he can mentor and have a mana left. Gush card, too powerful.
I thought Kai was saying that Gush isn't all that great.
He said it's terrible on turn 1 and turn 2. He's happy to have one starting on turn 3, which is basically what he's got here.
And now I think he can't actually lose.
Whoa, he's going to cast the Mentor before he Gushes. But this means that he's Flusterstorm Guard is down.
But not Mental Misstep.
I'm surprised he committed Jace, I guess. All right, Misstep counters Ancestral. Brian has no way to fight, so Kai fended off the Ancestral, resolved his Mentor.
Force the Fire Ice, and this should be just about over.
Yeah, here's the Gush. There's the triggers. Brian wants to fire, deal 2 damage, but yeah, I mean, Kai might wish he could use a Flusterstorm. Whoa, he let it die!
Huh.
He let it die.
I didn't see that coming.
I did not expect that either.
If he forced it, he would actually go into his next turn with 3 Mentor tokens, assuming he...
Well, he'd have no defense, right? If he forces it, he's either pitching Treasure Cruise, which, hint, he's not pitching Treasure Cruise, or he has to pitch his Flusterstorm. So then playing the 1 mana means, I don't know. I would have defended Mentor there. But hey, this is why these games are so much fun to watch, right?
They are. Maybe you guys counting Tiny Jace as a sufficient threat. And now Kai has double counter backup. He'll enjoy going on a boat next turn.
Yeah, I mean, Kai's still in great shape. He just doesn't have an immediate victory.
And then, once again, Brian Kelly continues the here's why Gush is not good stream that we're enjoying.
Now Kai's going to see what's up, and he's going to be, oh, yeah, Force of Will would have been really good. I could have just killed you this turn or next.
Well, at this point, Kai has to feel pretty good about where he is in life.
Your opponent has 2 black cards, no black mana, and a gush. It's not a bad spot.
Not a bad spot at all. So
yeah, looks like time to look for some gold.
Time to get nautical.
Time to get nautical. Sure. I'll allow it.
Do you remember that you used to be able to play 4 copies of this card in Vintage?
I think it can't possibly be true. That must have been like 20 years ago.
They wouldn't print a 1-mana draw 3.
I mean, they printed 1. Fair enough. It's 1993. No one knew what was going on.
Yeah, that's true. Well, this pretty much guarantees that Kai would have won if he actually had kept the Mentor alive this turn.
Yeah, that's fine. He played it conservative, but it's probably correct. I don't know about probably correct. It's plausible. I can see how he got to where he got to. It doesn't seem crazy.
I can see it. I can see it. And it looks like Kai is going to just discard. Sometimes you get too much card advantage and you have to go down to 7. So Brian drew a card that he can try to use to get back in the game here, which is pretty good for him.
Wow, it's not going to live very long.
Well, Brian at least gets a moment of hope here before Kai crushes his dreams.
Kai has a response. 1 token. You can have 1 token.
So no Brian hasn't actually seen Kai's hand this whole game.
Huh.
Oh, wow. That's actually a pretty good draw right there.
It is multiple black mana.
Yeah, and a Young Pyromancer. So Brian can actually play Young Pyromancer here and then attack Kai's hand.
Well, Pyro gets forced, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine Kai letting this resolve. It's not like Brian has anything better in his deck than Young Pyromancer here.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Kai knows that Brian will lose his hand.
Huh. He's going to lead with the Thoughtseize. Try to clear a path for Young Pyro. You Flusterstorm this, right? Storm is like 5?
Oh, yeah, I think you have to, so you can save your Force of Will for the Young Pyromancer. What you don't want to happen is Young Pyromancer to team up with Cabal Therapy.
Agree.
So Storm is more than Brian can pay. And Mentor gets bigger. Can't forget that trigger. Kai is resolving Flusterstorm, of course. So it looks like Brian's going to throw out Young Pyromancer, have it forced.
Well, the order is not obvious. You could Cabal Therapy here.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, you Therapy, and then you name Force of Will if it resolves. Kai has to either force the Therapy or let it resolve. I suspect he just lets it resolve, knowing he's probably going to lose his Force, but at least then he didn't lose his other blue card.
That's true. And
the moral of the story is that Brian gets to actually resolve that Young Pyromancer.
Of course, he can...
Yeah, let it resolve, and he named Force of Will.
Tiny Jace is going to allow allow Kai to get rid of this guy instantly.
It's interesting that Kai probably wishes he could have Flusterstormed that Gush. Like, I don't think you Force of Will Gush in this spot. I don't even think it's close. But Brian could just pay for if he'd Flusterstormed the Gush, since it would have only been for a 2-mana Sink. Now Brian gets to show you the power of Young Pyromancer with Cabal Therapy. He saw Kai's hand when he named Force of Will. Now he gets to flash back the therapy and hit something else. Kai probably debating whether to gush in response.
I actually think that it might have, well, it might have been correct to force the gush there. And if not the gush, then probably the Lotus.
I think if you're going to force a will and try to just keep him screwed, you force the Lotus. I actually Kai didn't think about it very long, but I would have considered forcing Lotus. I mean, easy to say that when you can see the hands, but you know your opponent's been color screwed for a while. Like, I don't think people force a will Black Lotus often enough.
I agree. I agree completely.
Like, it's not always correct by any stretch of the imagination, but it's correct a little more often than people give it credit for. All right. When the dust settles, Brian is empty-handed, approximately. All he's got is a Tundra that he returned from Gush. So Kai knows all he's got is a Tundra.
I'm sure I love brainstorming there before using Gitaxian Probe. I mean, it worked out just fine for Kai. But yeah, I mean, if he had
the information, if he had probed first, is your point.
Yeah. And I certainly think you want to check to make sure that Brian doesn't have anything in his hand.
You know it's a Tundra.
You do know it's a Tundra?
He returned it with Gush last turn. You know he has exactly Tundra.
I still like digging one deeper first.
Yeah, I mean, you're weighing that against, like, I might draw Force of Will, I think is the counter argument.
It's reasonable.
The way this works out, though, he can also crack a fetch lane, get a fresh library, and then probe if that's what he wants to do. He's also got Jace, of course. He could cash in Telepath Unbound for one flashback right now. Could be a Swords on the Young Pyro. I think there's still a Time Walk in there. There's a Cruise in there that you could flash back.
Wow. Yeah. Brian had such an early advantage this game, and just sort of let that slip away, I think. So I really like the line of swordsing Jace, or of swordsing Young Pyromancer with Jace and digging through time.
Well, dig first. You don't want to kill your Telepath Unbound if you don't have to.
I agree.
That's your line that I think you dig first, but then you have to commit. Okay, he's going to cash in Jace. Is he going to cruise with that? Or plow?
I think he's swordsing. I do agree with you, though, that it does make sense to dig first. Maybe you'll find a sword.
I mean, you can't make the mana work, unfortunately. Like, he kind of wants to leave his Pyroblast untapped, I think. Since Brian's best cards are blue cards. I don't know. Kai has once again played this kind of conservative, but maybe that's okay because he's kind of ahead. I mean, he's more than kind of ahead.
I see what you did there. Kind of ahead.
I did not do that. I would not.
I think you did, Randy. I think you did.
And now, given the chance to trade 1-for-1 with a cantrip, Kai takes it.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Once again, Kai knows that Brian is down to just a Tundra.
Nope, not even the Tundra anymore, which makes sense on account of Gush. So now you have to dig, right?
He could preordain first. I mean, dig's an instant. He can sit on it and wait. 2 lands.
I like playing it when Brian's hellbent. Young Pyromancer has arrived.
Well, now you see why he's been holding Gitaxian Probe all this time.
To make another
trigger. Yeah. I like it. Yeah. Paying the blue mana, though. It's time. 9 life. We hit single digits. I understand the opponent is hellbent with a 1/1, but it's time to start paying blue mana for that.
And he gets to attack for 3.
Cool game.
This is a very interesting game. Ooh, wow. Boy. At first I thought Brian drew a great one, and then I realized that that's no Bob Marr.
Remember when Brian had black mana? That was a fun turn.
That was a great one turn. Yes. So Brian Kelly is not known for humble mana bases. He's playing 4 colors.
Yeah, it's. We were talking in the pregame about how you can make the case for. Yeah, okay. Brian has seen enough. Dig through time prompts the concession. We were talking in the pregame how there's reasons to play white mana in your blue cantrip deck. There's reasons to play black. There's reasons to play red. And obviously, it's a blue cantrip deck, so that's 4 colors. You've even found reasons to play green in these decks.
Well, Brian Kelly has actually taught me a lot about greedy mana bases, and I think that game it got him.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
again, I don't think
if he would have been able to Cabal Therapy the turn he bounced the Mentor, if he has the black mana to just Cabal Therapy named Mentor, game goes completely differently.
Yes.
And you see here, Brian has the white mana. He's got, a swords, but no mentors. Not enough white mana for Monastery Mentor.
Looks like the Shatter plus Lightning Bolt card is leaving Brian's deck. A Force of Will is going. That'll take him down to 2 forces.
Yeah, I don't love Force of Will in this matchup. I mean,
that's not great.
The only reason to keep it is to stop Monastery Mentor from happening.
Right. And sometimes even a turn 1 Monastery Mentor and or Gutter Snipe isn't enough.
Kai's got all his forces. I'm not sure he has that much sideboard for this matchup, though. I know that this is one of the reasons you play the Jeskai Mentor deck is because you want this matchup, right? He came loaded with main deck Flusterstorms and main deck Missteps, almost like he knew the VSL has a disproportionate number of blue mages.
Exactly. It's not a bad call by him at all. Now we're waiting for opening hands. So Kai has a 1-lander, which I think you have to ship. And remember how I said Yawgmoth's Will is not good in your opener? No.
You did say that.
It's not looking all that great in Brian Kelly's opener here. I don't like Brian's hand very much. He could, if he's feeling really lucky, I guess, shove out that Therapy. I think Kai is the more interesting one, though. I'd probably ship Brian's hand, and I'd probably keep Kai's hand, knowing it's wrong to keep.
I mean, Kai's hand, the Pyroblast is... You're also on the draw. I would be more tempted to keep Kai's hand than Brian's.
Looks
that's
like
for sure.
Kai...
And it went the other way. Brian kept, but Kai didn't.
Oh,
hilarious.
All right, well, Kai is wiser than I am, and
the fact that Kai had no second land and no cantrip is a reasonable argument, but like all his cards were good.
He had a Force and a Red Blast. You could have dealt with the turn 1 Gutter Snipe. And then, of course, Kai goes to Magical Christmas Land and draws the best possible.
How about Black Lotus for turn 1 Monastery Mentor? Is that good?
This is completely ridiculous. Kai can even save Mentor from fire by swordsing him and then mental misstepping his own swords. Wow.
Hilarious.
What a rough break for Brian Kelly, that is.
Yeah, see, this is what happens when you put Yawgmoth's Will in your deck, right? Sometimes you draw it on turn 1. It's terrible.
Exactly. It's almost as bad as Gush. And so Brian Kelly, not interested in
calling Kai's bluff.
Yeah.
He could have dealt 2 damage to Mentor during Kai's end step.
I think if you're not going to make that play, you shouldn't have Fire Ice in your deck.
Fair. That is fair. He didn't even know he had the Pyromancer coming.
Yeah, this is good. Brian's catching himself. You absolutely need to fetch first. That way, if anything unfortunate happens to your young Pyromancer, you still get a token friend out of it. Otherwise, Kai would swords him in response to the fetched land. Then, like going to the Chocolate Factory, you get nothing. I really dislike the fact that Brian didn't swords or fire on Kai's end step, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the downside is. Like, Kai has to have. Basically, you're going to get 2 cards. You're either getting the mentor or you're getting 2 cards. He doesn't have 1-mana instants. I guess he could have Ancestral Recall exactly. Is about the only thing that 1-for-1s him.
It doesn't Ancestral and Brainstorm.
Brainstorm, sure. 2 restricted cards.
Yeah. I think you have to make that play.
Name's Gush. So Kai let it resolve. Note that Kai did not spend his mental misstep there. He figured with a hand, his hand was weird enough. Brian was likely enough to name Force of Will. Or I think Kai felt Brian was likely to name Force of Will. So Kai let that resolve rather than targeting with mental misstep. And Brian hit. Hilariously, he hit a Gush that Kai can't cast, but that's all right.
Yeah, once again, Gush is this thing that no one can ever cast.
And now presumably Brian wants to flashback to therapy while he knows Kai's hand? Or no, he's going to wait.
There's the brainstorm.
Yeah, I guess if Brian had flashback to ball therapy, he would have run it into misstep and there would be another monk on the board. So you can see why he wouldn't want to do that.
So like Kai made his land drop. And his next land drop.
Oh, Luis points out in the chat that Kai can fire off a Pyroblast targeting nothing or targeting anything in that turn 1 scenario. So it's not actually just 2 cards.
Wait, Luis can fire off a Pyroblast?
Luis points out that Kai, there are more than the 2 outs that would have punished Brian. Still, you fire.
Yeah. If you're not going to fire there, don't play
This
fire.
is going to happen. If you don't do something about it, then this can happen. You have to try to stop this from happening.
Yeah. I don't know what better scenario you're saving your fire for.
Kai can even swords this elemental if he wants to. Turn off the Cabal Therapy flashback and get a monk and 2 extra damage. He's going to see if Brian blocks first. I don't know if he's going to swords it, but it's an interesting option. Nah, he's just going to hold the swords.
Okay, Brian drew Gush. Gush is kind of awkward with Yawgmoth's Will here, but I don't know what else you're going to do with your life. I mean, Brian could Yawgmoth's Will, but now that Kai has brainstormed, it's not even a guarantee that he would hit.
Well, he hasn't cracked a fetch land since then, has he?
No, but he put 2 back, so he could be hiding cards to protect.
And then probed.
Okay, so he could be hiding up to 1 card.
Yes, exactly.
But it still means that there's not a deterministic card in Kai's hand.
I just wanted you to say deterministic, Rich.
You got me. So you could play Yawgmoth's Rampant Growth, or you can Gush.
He is going to Cabal Therapy that elemental token away. He's going to run it into a misstep.
Well, on the bright side for Brian, it makes another mentor token. I'm not sure how that's bright side, but
it's the bright side for everyone who's going to get to 5 wins and wants to clinch the playoffs. We talked about coming into this week, there was the only way for a 5-4 player to fail to at least tie for a playoff spot was if 7 results went exactly the right way. And Brian Kelly winning this match was one of the 7.
That's fair.
5 wins. Now, look, you want to get a bye straight into the finals if you can get it, and you don't want to have to play a playoff just to get into the 3rd versus 4th quarterfinal. But clinching postseason is still clinching postseason, and I think we're pretty close to handing you some congratulations, Rich.
All right. Well, that'll be nice. Say, have we figured out are we going to have those new cards come in for the new for the playoffs?
Yeah.
They look kind of exciting.
Eldritch Moon will be live for the playoffs. Absolutely.
Nice. They somehow grafted a Mindslaver onto Emrakul, so I think that's awesome.
Something you look forward to messing around with?
Oh, I'm absolutely going to test that card out.
Well, you have at least one match. Might only be a tiebreaker match. I recommend winning a couple more and getting a bye. But yeah, you and Shuhei clinch playoffs unless Brian stitches together some insane comeback on the back of a gush. He appears to have turned off his hand cam, so he's going to keep us guessing.
All right. Well,
I don't know if we'll have
Brian, always the showman. He's made this more exciting by disabling his hand cam.
You give him credit for doing that on purpose?
Oh, easily. He could have. What would he need? Time Walk, Lotus, Yawgmoth's Will? So he can chain together turns? Maybe Ancestral Yawgmoth's Will. Ancestral Yawgmoth's Will, Lotus, right? How's that?
Well, you only get 2 cards. All he's done is gush.
Well, he has Yawgmoth's Will in hand, right?
Oh, right. So, you think he just gushed into Ancestral Black Lotus?
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. That'll make this more exciting.
I mean, he's still an underdog. He's still a pretty big dog, right?
Does he play Balance?
I don't think he plays Balance.
It wouldn't be a Brian Kelly type card. He probably assumes he'll have more cards than his opponent, so he wouldn't want to cast it. Oh, I wonder if his computer crashed.
Nah, he flickered out of the hangout. We got a brief look at his elbow, which is the other reason why I'm not putting him on doing it on purpose for showmanship.
Well, stopping a red. This could be Gutter Snap. It could be Jory N. Young Pyromancer.
Sure.
All right, well, I guess if he has Mental Misstep in hand, this could still be kind of a game.
Yeah, Kai's obviously going to fire that plow as soon as he gets priority.
Oh,
Demonic Tutor. Right. Now you clearly plow as a response.
Oh, easily. Yeah, there's no way you let Brian get away with this. And if you're Brian, what do you
Brian's
get here?
Got 4 cards in his hand. We know one is the land he just picked up with Gush, and one is Yawgmoth's Will.
Yawgmoth's Will. So
don't think we know the other 2.
Man, if you were playing all 5 colors, you could get Fastbond here.
Huh.
My guess is Black Lotus. I think Lotus plus Yawgmoth's Will opens you up to the most possible things happening.
He doesn't have any crazy like Dread of Night or Sulfur Elemental shenanigans, does he? Wow, Kai let it resolve. He's gonna let the TT resolve.
That's interesting. I don't think Brian has any of those type of cards.
This is actually kind of interesting. Kai has a card in his hand that he knows Brian does not know about. So if he plows the Pyromancer, he actually gives Brian a lot of information.
Well, Brian knows that if Kai doesn't have swords in hand, then it's the top card of his library.
No, he played that swords. This is a new swords.
Oh, okay. It's also possible that Kai wants to get a bonus to his team, like a mini Army of Allah on his turn.
Fair. All right, Brian plays a Black Lotus after casting Demonic Tutor. Probably that's what he got with the tutor. Kai, once again, has to decide if he wants to kill the Young Pyro. Well, if he wants to attempt to kill the Young Pyro. And, yeah, he's seen enough.
Yeah.
If he lets Black Lotus resolve, then Brian has the ability to cast other spells and trigger more elementals. Kai's risking a mental misstep here is why I think he's been a little hesitant. Also, Kai's now hellbent, right? Kai's empty-handed, and Brian gets to play the rest of the game with perfect information.
Right. I like Sworging here, though.
Yeah, I mean, I would have Sworged the first time, but I think I'm wrong and Kai was right. And I think Kai's also right to do it here.
So now we'll see if Brian has any follow-up or if he's passing.
Right. We know Brian can cast Yawgmoth's Will. He's already played a land this turn, right? That Volcanic is a replay after the Gush, I believe.
I don't remember.
I think that's true.
But if he has Yawgmoth's Will, wouldn't do enough.
It was his turn 3. You can see in the bottom left of the client. That,
it tells you?
3. Yeah.
Where does it say that?
Lower left of the client on the phase bar.
Oh, I never knew that. Turn 3, VSL Budde. Wow.
So Brian is sacrificing the Black Lotus during Kai's upkeep, and he gets himself a Monastery Mentor. So
I would have done that 5 months ago.
Ice. That was the thing. That was the card that we wanted him to play way back on turn 1.
Yeah.
He actually succeeded in killing a mentor with it. 5 months later.
Tony Shalhoub later. It's.
Maybe Brian wasn't brain dead after all. I'm going too deep on Tony Shalhoub. I apologize for even trying. Although that show's actually really good.
Oh, that's one of my favorite shows. I love that show.
Like Brain Dead? That's the new one.
Wait, Tony Shalhoub's in a new show?
Yes.
Really?
And it's really good.
Of course it's really good. It has Tony Shalhoub in it. Wow, all right. He's about the only actor that I actually am excited to hear that he's in a new show of. Hello?
Yeah, I lost the screen share as well.
No, I'm also excited to hear that Tony Shalhoub's in a new show, but I also have been excited to continue watching the match.
Well, there we go. I've got the match back.
Oh, hello? Am I here? Turn my camera on.
Yeah, I'm getting the Skype premium bug, unfortunately.
Hello? Okay, I guess we were so excited about Tony Shalhoub being in the show that the internet died.
We haven't missed much. Brian has cast Yawgmoth's Will. That's what we've missed. He replays his Black Lotus out of the graveyard, and now what's going to happen?
Well, probably fire-related things. I don't know if that'll be enough.
I mean, Kai's now empty-handed, so he gets to fire 2 monks and drop Kai down to a pair of 1/1s. Okay. And then he's done? Got to gush. That's what he got to do. He's up to 6 cards in hand.
Oh.
Not that we have its hand cam. So,
wow.
yeah.
I mean, Brian's still in pretty crummy shape.
It's well, really? He's being attacked for 2 a turn. He's got 10 life left. Kai was empty-handed, and Brian just did a value Yawg Will where he gushed and killed a couple of monks. I think this game's pretty close. Like, it totally depends what Brian drew off the gush.
Wow, Little Jace. Okay. That was an exciting draw.
Potentially blocks, although I don't think I would have the fortitude to block versus 2 unknown cards. I think you just take it.
I haven't understood Brian Kelly's plays so far, but let's see if... No, okay. Not keen on blocking.
We've certainly confirmed that he's not ghosting.
Yes. Wow. This is... So he actually probably can't flip Little Jace this turn, right? Oh, if he has a fetch land, he can.
Yeah.
But he needs to muster something really quickly. Those mentors, they do a lot of damage quickly.
Man, remember 5-10 minutes ago when I was congratulating you on clinching the playoffs?
There's a new Tony Shalhoub show out. I'm not going to be in a bad mood. I'm fine.
I think that may have been a little premature. I think you've got to think this is edge Brian Kelly here. Kai's got...
Actually, I think this favors Kai.
From here, there's 5 cards in Brian's hand.
Oh, are there?
5 cards. Okay. That is not an empty hand cam.
Okay.
That is a missing hand cam. You can see in the top left of the client, there's 5 cards in Brian Kelly's hand right now. Oh, if Brian Kelly was hell-bent, then whatever. Brian's the one with a Planeswalker. Is he shipping the turn with active Jace? They can run the block, tap, activate.
But he's 1 short, right? He's only 3 cards in his graveyard.
Yeah, I don't know why you don't lose.
Wow, Kai drew possibly the best possible.
Well, will it resolve? He's on Force of Will, no blue card.
It's better than drawing an Ancestral here because it's more likely to resolve.
Cannot be mental misstep. Good point. Yeah, I think you got to just run it if you're Kai.
Oh, yeah.
You're at least going to get a prowess trigger out of it. Kai crosses his fingers. What do you got?
Man,
I would like to draw 3 cards.
You don't even know what Brian Kelly has.
Nope. It's fun to play this way. It's like playing Magic. Whoa, it does resolve.
Man.
My likelihood of victory meter just swung dramatically over to Kai. I had Brian at like 55, 60% before that draw step. He didn't even activate Jace as a response. Like, don't you go digging for, I don't know, Flusterstorm? Something?
I'm going to guess that Brian had a Red Blast in his hand and he decided not to cast it. That's how this match has been.
All right. Now what? Play the Mentor so that if there's a Force of Will opportunity, you get another Prowess trigger? No, play the Dig Through Time.
Looks like Kai's just digging.
It leaves him without a blue card for Force of Will, but whatever. Treasure Cruise just resolved. Dig should also resolve, even if you do have to tap a third mana for it.
There's a good chance that Kai is just trying to put this game away this turn and put Brian in a position where he has to block.
He has to chump block, right?
Yes.
I mean, unless he's got an instant to get a fourth card into the graveyard. All right, what is this?
Gosh.
There's the fourth card in the graveyard. So Jace is now capable of blocking and flipping. Brian is looking for an answer. Could have done this as response to the cruise. Still did not find an answer. Dig is resolved.
A lot more than cruise.
Wow.
This
is what these decks do. You think you've got one of these blue cantrip decks pinned in a corner, and they're like, oh, off the top, here comes Cruise into Dig, into cantrips, more cards.
Oh, yeah. And so it looks like he has Mentor, Ponder, Tundra, Flusterstorm, Forest Gush, and Little Jace.
I take 2 of the blue cards.
I like that.
Doesn't narrow it down. Probably Gush.
Yeah, definitely Gush.
Flusterstorm. I like Flusterstorm.
Mm-hmm. I like that too.
Flusterstorm sounds great.
So Kai can use this to attack, and if, well, I guess Brian can safely block now anyway.
Yeah, but you force him to. If he doesn't, obviously you Gush for the kill. Brian will block one, though. And then you probably just sit on your Gush. You might need it as a blue card to force a will. You might want to do it next turn.
Yeah, without hand cams, I think this gets more exciting.
Well, we had a lot of debates early on in Vintage Super League trying to figure out, do we want hand cams? Do we not want hand cams?
We did. I mean, I was pretty against them at first. I liked the sort of suspense that we have here.
Yeah, I mean, there's 8 cards in Brian Kelly's hand right now after that Gush. Sure, 2 of them are land. Maybe more. Probably more, but it's 5 we don't know about.
That's quite a lot.
For what it's worth, I think the hand cams actually do add a lot, especially since we're one of the few shows that can do them.
I think I've come around on them. I think I mostly like them, but
like mixing it up like this every once in a while is cool.
Yeah. I don't mind when they go out like this too.
Yeah, they probably go out often enough that we get the right amount of what's he holding?
Yeah, we can count on technology to do the right thing for us. Exactly.
All right. Brian takes 3 and flips his Jace. Kai is planning to win next turn, and his hand looks pretty good, but Brian's draw step takes him up to 9 cards.
Wow.
The only 2 we are sure of are... Actually, we don't even know about the Tundra anymore. He just discarded a Tundra on the loot. So we know there's a volcanic island in there. We don't know the other 8.
Could be anything. It could be a boat. It could be Treasure Cruise.
Could also be an Underground Sea, and I'm forgetting which 2 lands he picked up, but I would have written them down if I was actually playing.
I guess, what does Brian Kelly want? Firestorm and a Flusterstorm to defend it?
I don't know. I'm very fond of that Firestorm card. But...
That card is great. I love that card. He can't even use Slice and Dice to get out of this one.
Electrickery? No.
Electrickery will result in Brian being tremendously disappointed.
By Flusterstorm, yeah.
And such will probably also result in him being disappointed.
Storm count is 2, so Kai can Flusterstorm. Well, I mean, Flusterstorm will make 2 copies. So yeah, you spend your Flusterstorm here, for sure.
I like that. Yeah, 7 cards is enough for everyone. I can only imagine the Jory N staring back at Brian in his hand.
He keeps picking up his lands. How's he ever going to get a 3-drop into play?
Right, exactly. See this again? Gosh, very playable.
Is Brian done?
In more ways than one, apparently.
Sure, yeah. Play the second Mentor before the Gush. Kai was even... His deck was even nice enough to deliver up a blue card, so he still got Force of Will back up.
Not just any blue card. So I guess the question is, does Kai win this turn or next turn?
Depends what he draws. Oh, second Gush. More value. More value.
It looks like this is the end for Brian Kelly.
3 tokens.
And he can... I think I can force this to make this lethal, right? If it weren't already.
It's 4? It's 4.
Oh. Well, he'll just draw another Gush and a Pyroblast, so it's all good anyway.
He can Pyroblast Jace.
Yeah, or he can Pyroblast Underground Sea, and that works too.
Right. I was looking like he could Pyroblast, a land. Oh, how about the Blue Planeswalker? We'll Pyroblast. So Kai Budde does win. Top deck Delve Spell into just an explosion of card advantage. Gush was not good enough for Brian Kelly to keep up. Congratulations to Shuhei Nakamura, who is definitely going to be in the postseason, can do no worse than a tie for 4th. And congratulations to Rich Shea, who can now do no worse than a tie for 4th. But the buys are strong. You go straight to the finals, and you can't finish worse than 2nd. That is definitely still a ton to play for. The seeding matters probably more in this league than any other Magic format that I've seen. And, plenty to play for. We also have the other side of the standing. So, yeah, there you see Kai is up to 4-4. And, in fact, Kai just took control of his own destiny by creating the scenario where all 5 4s make at least a tiebreaker. He's got to win an in next week. Brian Kelly drops to 4-4. He's got to win an in next week. Interesting stuff. Paul Rietzel has a win and in this week, and now that means that the winner of Luis and Eric will definitely be in the postseason, one way or the other. And it also means the loser is not eliminated. We also have a fight on the other side of the standings. I think we will turn our attention to that one now. David Ochoa is still live for playoffs if he goes win-win. I am still live for last, depending on how Steve and I do. We could actually resolve last place tonight. If Steve loses and I win, then we're done. There's no drama for last place. We just know it would be Menendian. Much more likely that any other pairing of those two results, and it'll still be live going into next week.
Well, how do you like your matchup against Ochoa?
I mean, I was expecting him to play a workshop deck. When I looked at my trimester, it was, okay, Kai's range is super wide. I can't really put him on a deck, so I'm not going to bother trying to put him on a deck. I thought Ochoa was most likely to play workshops, which is pretty much what he's on. And I thought, who did I play last week? Right, I got the matchup I was expecting from Shuhei. I was like, Shuhei's 50-60% to play Oath. Ochoa's 50-60% to play Workshop. And like, I did put myself in this position where it was pretty easy for Kai to figure out that I was on Dredge because my other two opponents, you want to be playing Dredge. Like, if you're playing Oath and Workshop, I think Dredge is just the right deck to go. So I got that part right. Lost the match last week, unfortunately. It was not fun to watch the replays. Shuhei cut Dredge Hate from his sideboard and then still drew a never-ending supply of it. I may have taken a lap around my house when he showed me the second Ravenous Trap in Game 3, but these things happen.
Yeah, he didn't seem interested in Tormod's Crypt.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Oath was actually my best matchup, probably, but I still think I'm favored against Workshops. And the interesting little twist, for whatever it's worth, like in Dredge, you always wind up with these random hoser slots. Like, are you playing Mental Missteps? Are you playing Force of Wills? Like, you get to just put, are you playing, main deck Chain of Vapors because you're worried about Containment Priest? So I have main deck Leyline of the Void, which may not seem relevant against Workshops.
Oh, no, that's huge.
Right. It means Ravager can't kill Bridge from Below. Right, the Arcbound Ravager can just come down and sack itself to kill all of your Bridge from Belows, but if I have Leyline of the Void, then it doesn't die. It doesn't go to the graveyard from play, and so it never triggers, and essentially my Leylines can defend my bridges. So I've got...
It does a lot. It shuts off Ravager. It shuts off Hangerback Walker.
Right.
And
less directly relevant, but it shuts off Crucible, which sometimes you're slow enough, like you only draw the one Bazaar.
Yeah, I always bring in at least one Crucible against Dredge post board, so I think that card actually does a tremendous amount of work. I actually think that card
sideboarding.
I think that card is scarier than if you main decked like a Nature's Claim.
Right. Yeah, no, I was like I said, I'm content with my deck choice, bordering on happy, and I do think the ley lines lined up really well. Like you saw what they did to Shuhei in game 1 last week too. It's like his Oath is completely turned off. It does nothing. Like he can't Bomberman comp me when I ley lined him, but I only drew it in one game last week, game 1. Anyway, I am in fact up next against David Ochoa, and we'll see what the drama is going to look like at the bottom of the standings. We'll know a lot after this match. So stay tuned, guys. That was a fun one. We've got 4 more fun ones coming up for you. Stay tuned.